Welcome back to another tutorial by Photographer Overnight. In this tutorial I want to get more into what you can do to enhance your skies using Photoshop. I showed you how to do a gradient in Adobe Camera Raw, but you can do the same thing in Photoshop and customize it a little more. I don't know if you've ever noticed the colors in the sky at sunset, but they're actually the same spectrum as the rainbow, starting from the ground and moving upwards. And I always remember the rainbow with the name Roy G. Biv, which is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And the nice thing about Photoshop is we can actually put any colors we want into our gradient rather than just having one color that gradually fades out. So I've got our picture open here that I want to add a sky to. And what you're going to do is click the gradient tool, but first of all, I never make any changes to a picture directly on the picture, so we're going to create a layer by clicking this button here for new layer. Then we've got this layer here where we're going to add our gradient. And up here you can see the gradient tool, and right now it's selecting the gradient that fades out to nothing. And then we have this one that goes from the foreground to the background. I'm going to click this, and when you double click, you'll be able to change all the colors of your gradient. So we've got a good start here. We have kind of a red-blue down here. We want to start with red, and then just click here and you'll be able to add another color. Click on the color here, and I'm going to make an orange color. Now this picture is a little gray, so I'm going to stay in the gray range of the orange, but we're going to come up here for a brighter orange and hit OK. And then I'm going to add a yellow here. You'll usually see yellow in the sunset on the part where the sun is shining. So I'll have a little orange and yellow here. And then up here I'm actually going to drag this blue color down so I can get purple at the very top. And then I want the blue to extend down toward the yellow a little more, so I'm going to drag this down here so we just have this little patch of yellow where the sun would be. And then we're going to hit OK. Now I'm going to start the gradient from the bottom because that's where the red would start, and then it's going to go up into the purple here. You just drag and click and let go. Now this is where the glory of having a layer comes in. I'm going to actually remove this entire layer up until the sky starts right here. So we're going to create a mask by clicking this tool here. Here's our mask, and we're going to use another gradient with black. So we're filling in this mask with black where we want to mask out the layer up here. And actually what I'm going to do first so we can actually see what's going on underneath is I'm going to change this layer to multiply. That kind of keeps the background here so you can get some clouds underneath our new gradient, and we can actually see our faces and where we want the gradient to end. So now I'm going to create a black gradient, but what I need to do first is come back up to this gradient, and I want to go from the foreground color to an invisible color. So this way we're just filling this in with black. And sometimes it takes a couple tries, so if you want to try again, just click back here in the history. And then once you've got the gradient in black, you've masked out this layer wherever you're showing black on your mask. So we're going to grab the brush here, use a black brush, and I'm actually going to mask out a little more on the ground here, but we want to use a lower opacity on the brush, so Control Z will undo what we've just done and get a lower opacity so I can remove more of the gradient from the ground here. And then I'm just going to zoom in on the faces, get my brush a little smaller, and take off that gradient by painting with black on my mask to mask out that layer above and show through more of the layer underneath. So now you can see the sky we've added. To turn on and off this layer, you'll be able to see the change we've made. And that's how you can take a boring, dull sky and add a sunset sky. And then I just edit my picture to give it more of a color pop by using an action that I found at thecoffeeshopblog.com called Vivid. And what she does is she creates a bunch of different layers you can adjust to taste. So here's my before and after. And that's how you add a gradient in Photoshop. Now the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is add a completely new sky with a picture that you've taken of the sky that you like. So we have the picture of the sky here, and then we're just going to drag in another picture. So we have this bridal picture here that's pretty gray and boring, and I want to add this sky to the picture. So what we're going to do is grab our arrow tool and just drag the sky onto the bride's picture. Hit Ctrl T and you'll be able to transform the sky. And now I want the horizons to match up. So we're going to keep the mountains on the same level here. And then hit enter to commit that transformation. And now we've got our layer above here with our sky, and then the layer below with our bride. Now you can play around with this menu up here, how you want your layer to show up. I like darker color on this picture because I'm still able to see my bride and the sky, so I'm not going to have to mask out too much on top of her. So we're going to create the mask by clicking this mask button here, and this is where you can mask out the layer of the sky so you can see the bride showing through underneath. So what we're going to do is grab a brush, change it to black, and everywhere we paint, we're masking out this layer of the sky that's above. So I'm just going to paint over here with black, and we're masking out this mountain. And then I want the original mountains that were in this picture. So the way I can do that is create a gradient on the mask again. We're using a black gradient that fades out to invisible. And I'm going to start somewhere down here. And you may have to do it a few times. And then I'm just going to grab another black brush and go over the areas I want to keep on the layer underneath. Now clicking the eyeball tool will show you what you've done where you've added the sky. And you can see the picture underneath is actually more green tinted than the picture above, which has a little bit more red. So what we're going to do is create another layer, an adjustment layer, for the color balance. And I'm just going to bring this green over to make it a little more red to match the layer above. And the reason that I've done it in a layer is so that I can take it off of her because she's already a little more red than we want. And so what you can do is mask out her face with a black brush on top of the mask, and that will get rid of the red we just added to our layer underneath. You can see her dress also got a little more pink. We're just going to get rid of it on the dress. So now the layer underneath matches the color of the layer above a little better. We're going to get rid of some of these distracting elements like the tree and the light pole. And how we do that is click on this layer up here. We're going to get the clone tool. I'm sure you've used this before. It's awesome. Bring the brush size up to where we need it, and then just hit Alt where you want to copy from, and then come over here. And you're able to get rid of those distracting power lines. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to hit Alt over here. And I want a little bit of a softer brush. Let's get it a little bigger so we don't notice the transition as much. And then I try to do a little blending on the sky here. The last thing I want to get rid of is this tree over here. So I'm actually just going to paint with different colors. You can grab a color from the picture by clicking this eyedropper tool. Just grab one of these colors down here and lower the opacity. And I'm just going to paint over the tree. And we can grab a couple different shades of color so it blends in better. And now if there's anywhere you want to actually bring back the layer up above, all you have to do is click on this mask and paint in white, and we can bring back that layer up above. So here's my before and after, and we've added a great sky in that background where it was just white. And then I edit the picture how I usually do. Flatten the image. We'll use the same action that we used earlier. I have a hotkey for my actions, which allows them to just run with a click of a button. I'm going to tone down the vignette. And then I want to use this bright layer, but I'm going to fill it in with black. Shift F5, fill it in with the foreground color, and then use white where I want to actually use the layer. And this will just brighten up my bride without brightening up the rest of the picture. Now you can see what I've done by turning on and off this bright layer. These actions at thecoffeeshopblog.com are awesome. I highly recommend them. So here is my before and after of adding a sky and enhancing the picture. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more tutorials from photographerovernight.com.